the Buddha's wisdom on overcoming life's biggest challenges. As we sit here today, facing life's biggest challenges, isn't it time we sought wisdom that can guide us through? What if there were teachings from a revered figure who has already traversed these terrains? Let me tell you this, dear viewers, the Buddha offers profound wisdom on overcoming life's toughest battles. Here's something you should know. The Buddha lived in a world vastly different from ours, yet his teachings resonate deeply with modern-day struggles. You might be wondering, how did he tackle issues like poverty, illness, and conflict? The answer lies in his understanding of the human condition and his journey towards enlightenment. Here's what I want you to consider. In a world where life feels overwhelmingly challenging, what can we learn from the Buddha's perspective? In one of the earliest recorded teachings, the Buddha spoke about the Four Noble Truths, which form the cornerstone of his philosophy. He began by acknowledging that suffering exists and is universal. It is in this recognition that true wisdom begins. But let's not get bogged down by despair. The Buddha continued by explaining that suffering arises from craving and aversion. This insight is both profound and practical. Craving leads to attachment and attachment to pain. Aversion leads to fear and fear to suffering. The crux of his wisdom is that by letting go of these attachments, we can find peace. Here's a personal anecdote to illustrate this point. Imagine you're at a job interview and you've been told your application was declined. Instead of dwelling on the rejection, the Buddha would suggest looking inward, understanding that the rejection is not permanent and doesn't define your worth. By letting go of the attachment to the outcome, you can move forward with renewed energy and resilience. The next step in the Buddha's wisdom is to understand the cause of suffering, which he identified as ignorance. Ignorance leads to clinging to desires and fears, causing suffering. Here's something you should know: in our fast-paced lives, we often confuse the signs of success with happiness. We chase material wealth and status, believing they will bring us joy, but they often lead to more suffering when those things slip away. So, the first step towards overcoming life's biggest challenges is to recognize the role of ignorance in our lives. Let me tell you this: it's not about becoming ignorant. It's about being aware of our ignorance and taking steps to overcome it. This awareness allows us to make choices that align with our true purpose and values, rather than succumbing to fleeting desires. The third truth of the Four Noble Truths is the cessation of suffering, or nirvana. According to the Buddha, this cessation comes through the path of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These eightfold paths are the tools we need to navigate through life's storms. In our quest to overcome life's biggest challenges, we must practice mindfulness, which means staying present and aware of our thoughts and actions. This practice helps us avoid getting swept up in the chaos of life and instead find a calm center within ourselves. Here's a real-life example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with someone. If you choose to stay calm and mindful, you're more likely to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This mindful approach not only diffuses the situation but also strengthens your relationships. Mindfulness is not just about being present. It's about cultivating compassion and understanding towards ourselves and others. The final truth is the path leading to the cessation of suffering, known as the Eightfold Path. This path includes ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. The ethical conduct aspect involves following the 5 precepts: abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants that cloud judgment. Mental discipline includes developing concentration, meditative practices, and developing wisdom. The wisdom part of the path involves understanding the nature of reality and the impermanence of all phenomena. These practices are essential for anyone seeking to overcome life's biggest challenges. Let me share a story that illustrates the power of ethical conduct. I once heard of a monk who was approached by a young boy asking for money. Instead of giving him anything, the monk asked him to help him carry his luggage. The boy was shocked but realized that the monk was teaching him a valuable lesson about generosity and service. This act of kindness not only helped the boy, but also strengthened the monk's connection to the community. Ethical conduct, then, is not just about avoiding harm. It's about creating positive ripples in our lives and the lives of others. In the realm of mental discipline, the practice of meditation plays a crucial role. Meditation helps us develop concentration and observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. This practice can be incredibly transformative, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and ease. Here's a personal experience. I used to struggle with anxiety, finding myself caught in endless loops of negative thoughts. However, through consistent meditation practice, I learned to observe these thoughts without getting entangled in them. This newfound detachment allowed me to handle stressful situations with greater composure. The benefits of meditation extend far beyond individual tranquility. It fosters a sense of community and shared responsibility. By practicing meditation together, we can create a ripple effect of positivity that touches countless lives. Wisdom, the final component of the Eightfold Path, is perhaps the most elusive but also the most rewarding. The Buddha emphasized that true wisdom comes from understanding the interconnectedness of all beings and the impermanence of all phenomena. This wisdom allows us to see beyond surface-level problems and find solutions that benefit everyone. It's not about having all the answers. It's about embracing uncertainty and finding peace in the unknown. Here's a thought-provoking quote from the Buddha. "All compounded things are subject to decay. Strive with diligence." This quote reminds us that everything in life is temporary, including our struggles. By recognizing this truth, we can cultivate a mindset of acceptance and gratitude. Gratitude is not just about appreciating the good things in life. It's about acknowledging the impermanence of everything and finding joy in the present moment. By focusing on gratitude, we can transform our perspective and find hope even in the darkest times. Now, let's delve deeper into the specific challenges that we face in our lives and how the Buddha's wisdom can guide us through them. One of the most significant challenges we face is the struggle with change. Life is constantly evolving, and we often resist these changes because they disrupt our familiar patterns. However, the Buddha taught that change is inevitable, and that resistance to it only creates suffering. Instead, we should embrace change as an opportunity for growth. Here's a real-life example. Imagine you're a teacher who has been teaching the same curriculum for years. When faced with new educational standards, you might feel overwhelmed and resistant. However, if you view this change as an opportunity to learn and improve, you can approach it with enthusiasm. By embracing change, you open yourself up to new possibilities and opportunities for personal and professional development. Change is not just about adapting to external circumstances. It's also about adapting to our own inner needs and desires. Another challenge we often encounter is the fear of failure. Many of us hold on to unrealistic expectations and fear the consequences of not achieving our goals. However, the Buddha taught that failure is not a sign of weakness, but rather a stepping stone towards growth. By embracing failure, we can learn valuable lessons and develop resilience. Let me tell you this. I used to be terrified of public speaking. I feared being judged and embarrassed. However, through my fear, I discovered a strength within myself. I realized that every time I stood up to speak, I was growing and learning. By embracing my fear and using it as motivation, I transformed my public speaking skills and became more confident in my abilities. Failure is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be celebrated as a catalyst for personal growth. The Buddha also addressed the issue of addiction, which is a prevalent challenge in our society today. Addiction is not just about substance abuse. It encompasses various forms of compulsive behavior that hijack our minds and bodies. The Buddha taught that addiction arises from ignorance and craving. By recognizing these root causes, we can begin to break free from addictive patterns. Here's a real-life example. Imagine you have a habit of checking your phone constantly throughout the day. You might feel anxious or restless without it. However, by acknowledging this craving and practicing mindfulness, you can gradually reduce your reliance on your phone. This process requires patience and self-awareness, but over time, you can develop healthier habits and regain control of your life. Addiction is not just about breaking a physical habit. It's about healing the underlying emotional wounds that drive us to seek comfort in harmful behaviors. Lastly, the Buddha's wisdom can guide us through the challenge of maintaining relationships. Relationships are complex and multifaceted, and conflicts are inevitable. However, the Buddha taught that conflict can be a catalyst for growth and understanding. By approaching conflicts with empathy and openness, we can strengthen our connections with others. Here's a personal anecdote. I had a disagreement with a close friend over a significant decision. Initially, I felt defensive and angry. However, by listening to her perspective and expressing my own thoughts calmly, we were able to resolve the issue. This experience taught me the importance of communication and understanding in maintaining healthy relationships. By embracing conflict as a learning opportunity, we can build stronger bonds and foster mutual respect and support. In conclusion, the Buddha's wisdom offers invaluable guidance for overcoming life's biggest challenges. His teachings on the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the principles of mindfulness, ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom provide a roadmap for navigating the complexities of modern existence. Remember, the journey towards overcoming challenges is not linear. It involves moments of growth, setbacks, and perseverance. The key is to remain steadfast in your commitment to self-improvement and to embrace the impermanence of all things. As